Okay, this is the third scenario of my Ancient War series Revisited. And this one, I want to go over the combat system, the not so good, the bad, and the ugly. And there are special rules for my scenario for this Imperial Conquest campaign, or Pax Romana, I call it either one now. But before I get into all the special rules, I decided that we would just dive right into it, start the game. I'm excited to get it started, see how everything works out. And in my scenario, it starts in 107 BC, and we start with the New Media War, and it's an event. One of my special rules is up to 78 BC. There's no events that we roll for. I'm implementing them, and the New Media War is one of them. Now, this war pits the Red Roman player with a supreme leader as Marius against the Parthian player, the client state New Media, because Parthia controls all client states. And the supreme leader for Parthia is Jugurutha. This war will go from 107 to 105 BC. Now, there's some rules for this war. One, the at-start units are the only units you can play with. You can't recruit new units. You can recruit your losses, but that's it. No units are allowed to leave New Media. New Media is going to go from Caesarea, this river right here, over to Liptus Magna to Giramontes, this road here. So you must stay within New Media here. Both sides are going to start with a military and a political stratagem. According to the rules, when you start the scenarios, you give them at-start stratagems, and all the others are expended. So there's no available stratagems. They're all expended, except for those two that you're starting with. Now, Sulla. Sulla is on his red side here, because he's Marius' lieutenant. And he will not be allowed, or you cannot kill him off or eliminate him in any way.
And that just prevents the Red Roman player from eliminating Sulla, before they have a chance to become enemies. And then Sulla has a special rule also that allows him to pick one stratagem every turn. It has to be the agent stratagem. So Sulla is allowed to pick one agent stratagem every turn, and that has to do with history, because it was actually Sulla that ended up capturing Jugurutha.
Now, the objectives. The Red Roman player wins if he can eliminate Jugurutha. That was what Marius was out to do in history, was to capture Jugurutha, bring him to a decisive battle, and he was unable to do that. But that is his goal. And if the Roman player can achieve his victory, New Media will become a Roman client state. Now, New Media's victory conditions is one of two things. One, if they capture all three of these Roman cities, here, Utica, and Thespis, and hold them at the same time, the war ends, New Media wins. Or if Jugurutha simply stays alive till 105 BC, then New Media wins. If New Media wins the war, New Media reverts to an independent client state. Now, regardless of who wins, all Roman units are returned to the recruit box, except for the fleet, which will go to Rome. Marius will go to Rome, and Sulla you will put at Solone. So that's what happens to the Roman pieces. Now, if the Romans do win, they can choose to leave one or two units down here in New Media, which will have to remain there until further notice, and I'll bring that up later. But so those are the objectives. Now, the combat system. The combat system, when I was fighting the first time around, right, 5 years ago in that game, we would have 2 missile infantries, recruit class, going against 6 heavy infantry. This was the one that stands out to me. 6 heavy veteran infantry. The missile infantry fire first, and they got a discipline check. So the Romans had to roll a discipline check and rolled a 1. Therefore, they all failed. The entire Roman army is disrupted and therefore can't do anything. So for the next 2 rounds, you have this Roman force that is highly disciplined, highly trained, and heavily armored, floundering, doing nothing, while these recruit class missile infantry units, 2 of them mind you, are shooting at them still. To me, it was just bad. Just a bad system that way. Now, don't get me wrong, I like it. It's just, it doesn't seem to achieve what we're looking for. And then you go into the assault round, and the missile infantry fired again, got another, no losses, but got another check. Discipline check. The Romans rolled, got another one. All 6 heavy legions are destroyed. Don't get a chance to do nothing or shoot back. That is just bad to me. That's part of the bad here of this combat system. Now, I started looking up rules back then or online and seeing if people had a problem, and no one seemed to have a problem with it or said much about it. I know their main answers were, yeah, I know, it's just the way it is, the way it is. Okay. So I decided to just bring out the Romans and do a battle here, because I thought, let me see how this system and what I remember, what I didn't care for about it. So I brought this army out. Now, I gave Jugurutha the tactical superiority. Now, tactical superiority, if you noticed in the first time I played this, the first rounds, I didn't use it a lot. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of military stratagems on it, because you get maximum 3 military stratagems. You're using 1 or 2 to march your men around, so you don't take losses with that. And then you might use 1 in a battle, or you try to save it because you can use it in the opponent's turn. But especially if someone outnumbered you already because of the leadership ratings in the tactical superiority, I might not play a military stratagem to try to even that up a little bit if he already had the advantage. I would just be like, whatever, go ahead and roll. So I didn't, tactical superiority didn't quite bring it home for me either, but I gave it to Jugurutha. So we started. Now, he does have a lot of high strength units, but he rolled his missile infantry first, and it wasn't a good roll, and the result was a 0C. So no losses, but I had to roll a discipline check, and I rolled a 1. Entire Roman army's disrupted, can't do anything. So here we are again. I thought, wow. So then you go into the second round. Now the whole army gets to shoot. This army can do nothing back. And then we rolled another result that I think, there's 80 strength points. It was like 10 strength point loss plus a discipline check. Now the strength point loss, I agree with. That works out well. You take 10 off, roll a discipline check, and I rolled a 1. Entire army's gone. 2 rounds, nothing happens to them, and I thought, man, this is just bad. So I decided to have 3 more fights. I thought, you know what? And believe me, I've used the battle markers. I actually like the battle markers because they cater to your units that you may have more of in your army to help gear the battle that way. But, when you're playing solo and stuff, it's like, it's hard to really do that. But anyways, I do like them, but it does nothing to change what I'm talking about here that's just bad with this system. So I fought 3 more battles. The Numidians won 2 with the Roman army, including Marius, being annihilated. And one of them, the Romans actually won. And, I think the Numidians lost half their force. But now they didn't all lose because I rolled a 1 on the discipline check. Because when you go into the pursuit round, the 3rd round, if you roll a G result, then that's go berserk. And that means every unit's eliminated. So there is a 20% chance that you're going to lose your entire army in the pursuit round. Now, that's the ugly of it. I mean, no matter what you do, just based on the die rolls of a discipline check, your whole army is going to be annihilated. That's just plain ugly. So I started reinvestigating, and I started looking up the combat system for the other games that we have here, like the Roman Roman Civil War, Caesar and Gallia, Germania, and Trajan. And the combat systems were all pretty much the same. I mean, they were the same, some minor tweaks, but they were all the same. Now, Trajan introduces this battle board, which really brings more of a control over your tactics as far as the battle goes. It brings it down to the combat level. But I'm not going to use that, even though I would like to, and it really, you don't run into this type of problem if you use it, but, you know, it's time consuming, and I'm playing solo, so that doesn't really help out there a lot. And so I was reading the designer notes, and the designer notes, he talked about the combat system a lot. Now, I agree with everything he says in the notes 100%. He's talking about discipline in ancient wars have a greater factor and greater influence on the battle than strength points. I totally agree. Absolutely. He's talking about he didn't want to have just a computed ratio system, you know, one die roll and be done. And unfortunately, you can't get away from that with strategic level games. With strategic level games, you can never have a great combat level, you know, tactical combat level, because the units are large bodies of units because it's strategic, and you can't represent the tactics as far as a combat between small forces go. So it's the combat systems for strategic level games are always going to be abstract. They're always going to be just generalized. The Third Reich had this terrible 2-to-1 odds 4-6 exchange that would just annihilate an attacker's army. And even in the tournaments, the people running the tournament realized that it was a little crazy. Yes, you got yourself 2-to-1 odds, but on a bad die roll, or be two, one guy would roll bad, the other guy would get lucky and roll good, and all of a sudden the whole game could be over. You're sitting here for 8-12 hours playing a game. In the first hour, you get this 4-6 exchange, and a lot of people are like, well, I'm done. I'm not going to waste my next 8 hours because this puts everything really out of whack, you know, puts you behind. So people would be like, yeah, I'm not even playing. So I understand the one and done, and even the Third Reich rectify that somewhat to make sure that that went easy if that, you know, 4-6 exchange happened. And I believe we have to do something here. Even the first time around when I was playing this, I was actually changing the discipline table, trying to make it work, and I couldn't really come up with anything. It wasn't good. But I believe now I have come up with something pretty decent. And getting back to the designer notes, he brought up the fact of Carhae, right, where the Romans were just annihilated. And, you know, I actually thought of that battle because, you know, there's two famous battles I've thought of, the Cannae and Carhae, that, yeah, the Roman forces were totally annihilated, but most of the time, the smaller Roman disciplined force would defeat the larger force. I mean, all the time. But, you know, when you have this G result in the pursuit round and these disruptions, paralyzing your entire army where it can't sit there and do anything and fight back, I just found to be, like I said, ugly. So, I like the idea that he wanted 3 rounds, but that don't give you a fight back and forth 3 rounds. Like I said, it could be the one die roll, you're one and done for the rest of the rounds, just like I was showing you. It's like, and that's just not, you know, that's not that good for this battle system. He was also correct in stating that a lot of ancient battles did end in annihilation of one force. You know, a lot of them, you know. I agree with that. I also agree with most of your losses. As a matter of fact, the majority of your losses were always in the pursuit round when your army was running. But the fact that you go 3 rounds and an army can't do anything and fight back is just not that good to me. Anyways, I implement 3 rules. And the 3 rules are this. In the missile phase, the only pieces that are affected by the missile fire are your missile units. Okay, that's what the missile units were used for. They were to screen your army. They protected your army against other missile infantry elephants and cavalry. They were out there to screen your force. And so the skirmish that started off was always between the screening forces. So that's the first rule. Pretty simple. Missile fire only affects, in the first round, only affects enemy missile infantry. What also this does is it puts more onus on the commander to make sure he has a rounded army. So you want to go into battle with missile infantry to absorb that first round loss. If you don't have missile infantry and you chose to go into battle, well, guess what? That's on you. And if you roll bad, then that's on you. And see, I can accept that. If I choose to do that, I'll be like, yeah, that was my fault. Because that gives me more control over my army. I can still choose to do what I want. But if I'm not prepared adequately, then I can get hurt. And he also talks about in the designer notes, a lot of preparation went into campaigns. I mean, Caesar did it all the time. Every winter, he would gather forces, train them, prepare, get your logistics down, and then he would start the new campaign. So you need a lot of preparation when you go into battle. So you have to do the same thing here. Make sure you have your missile forces. Second, the stratagem. Now, when you play a military stratagem for tactical superiority, what I say is you can add 1 to your discipline check in any round, just one time in the battle. So if you play a military stratagem, you're allowed to add 1 to your discipline check in any round you want. So I find that now almost a must to have a military stratagem to go into battle. If you go into battle without one, what does that mean? Oh, you were unprepared again. And as a commander, you failed your army. You didn't give your army the chance to win. And again, that's on you. You know what? I would accept that. You can't go into battle with having a well-trained veteran force and then have this one die roll and then your whole army sits there and dies. It almost led me in this game to be like, man, it kind of sucks playing this. You're spending time trying to have a great game in the strategic level Roman world, but you go into battle and then you're like, oh man, I hope I don't roll bad. I mean, that's all it takes is the one bad roll. And in the pursuit round is even 1 and 2, and it just ruins your whole. It can ruin your whole the next year or two. It's just crazy. That's the kind of thinking I had. And then it would be like, you kind of lose interest almost in playing it because you're like, yeah, that kind of stinks. I think with this, I'm excited to try it because again, it gives that player, you're the commander, more onus is on you to control your army properly and go into battle prepared. Now, the third thing I implement is in the third round. Third round, I agree, the pursuit round, that's where most of your losses occur. But most of that was done by your opponent's cavalry because, of course, when you panicked and ran, your forces dropped everything they had, maybe just kept the one sword or whatever spear, and they hightailed it out there as fast as they could. The attacking army, if they sat there and fought for 3 or 4 hours, they weren't going to run after you with all their equipment. It was the cavalry and the light infantry that ran after everybody. So they're the ones that mowed down your retreating army most of the time. Not every time, but I'm saying most of the time. So in the pursuit round, if you roll that vaunted G result and the whole army's supposed to die, you can only lose as many forces as the opponent has in cavalry. And of course you get the double strength because in the third round all cavalry's doubled. So whatever they have doubled, twice that amount, that's how many forces you're going to lose. You can't lose more than that. So once again, the onus is on the player to go into battle with cavalry. If you go into battle without any cavalry, then your losses are going to be the minimum of 10 strength points. Okay, like 10, all right, that's 10,000 men. That's it. That's all the losses you can take in a pursuit round if you don't have cavalry. So once again, it'll be on you to have an army that's well-rounded and prepared. So those are my 3 implementations that I'm going to make. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're going to start this game. And it starts in Now, of course, we don't have the events to roll, and we don't need to pick stratagem because they already have theirs picked, and there's none available. So we're going to move to the recruit phase. There's nothing to recruit. So we're going to go into movement phase. Now, let me just say this. Without implementing my rules, I was definitely considering just taking Marius and let's get into battle. But finding out the results after that, how crazy that could be, now I want to be a little more prepared. And I want to be able to march over here using a military stratagem. Because why? There's three main ways, not counting events, there's three main ways you're going to lose your army. One is we just seen in battle, the whole thing could be wiped out. Two is being out of supply. If your army's out of supply, you lose half your forces. And again, whose fault is that? It's the commander. If you choose to go out of supply, you're going to take the risk of rolling that dice and getting a bad roll. That I love. See, that's on you. That's why implementing my three simple rules in the battle, basically, if you didn't do any of those, that's on you. You got nothing to cry and complain about. I also want to have more stratagems, because the third way to lose men is by moving. You lose men through attrition in the movement, whatever disease, sickness, whatever happens to them. So playing a stratagem when you move helps you not to lose men. Also, you can be prevented from moving in the movement phase if you don't play a military stratagem. So with that being said, I think the best move for me to do as Marius, what I want to do, I think, is move Sulla and one more legion over to Marius. And we're going to use the road movement. Oh, and he gets a 2. It says move W. That means he's free to move. Even though I played the military stratagem, I didn't need it. But you don't know that before you roll. Nothing would have happened to me. But I'm going to take one legion. Now there's a veteran and a recruit legion there. I'm going to take the veteran. I'm going to move him over to Marius. So Sulla's there now with one more legion. And I'm going to move the legate by himself. He don't need to use stratagems to move. And I'm going to move him over to Utica, because I want to keep him there to recruit losses. Okay, and he's going to be inside the city. You can notice these ones are outside. I start them outside because I don't like to get trapped inside a city if I can avoid it. So that's it for Marius. Now, at the end of his turn, you get to recover stratagems. That means all his stratagems in the expended box move to the available box. And what are they? It's 3 political, 3 military, and 2 agents. Now, he has a total of 4 political, but remember, he started one and he didn't use it, so he still has that ready to be used. So there's a total of 4 political, 3 military, and 2 agents. So those all go in the available box now. That's done with Red Roman player's turn. It is now New Media's turn. Now, Jugurutha's biggest problem at this time is not having a supply unit. If he wants to leave Serta and start running around to not get captured, he may want to have supply with him. So he's going to take his political stratagem and he's going to go ahead and expend it a supply unit. Now, let me just show you these. Remember, these are generic supply units. They have these stars on the back. They can be used with any client states, no matter if the Romans control them or the Parthians control them. They're allowed to be picked. And it's a fleet, an engineer, a supply, and a legati. So he's going to go ahead and buy the supply. He recruited it. So we're going to give him the supply. And his recruiting's done. Remember, in the first turn you pick stratagems, but he had none available. Remember, they're both expended when they start. So then you go to movement, and I think I'm not going to move. I'm good to go. And I think we are going to move all of our stratagems from the expended box, because there's no combat. We're just going to go to the recovery. All our stratagems go to the available box.
Now, in the second turn, the Roman gets to pick available stratagems. Now, you get to pick according to certain criteria. First, if you have a supreme leader, you use that supreme leader's rating and you get to pick stratagems up to his rating. So Marius is a 2, you get to pick 2. If the supreme leader is in Rome, you'd get another one, but he's not. If you have a civis unit, your color in Rome, you get to pick one. So Red Roman player has that, so he picks a 3rd. And then for every 5 major cities you control, you get another one. So Marius has that. So he picks 4 stratagems.
4. Now remember, he still has a political. I'm going to take 3 military and 1 more political. That's 4. And then Sulla, remember, he can pick 1 agent every turn. He's going to take the agent. So he still has 2 political and 1 agent in the available box. All the rest are ready to be played. So, what do you want to do with the movement? I think now I want to go for battle. Let's do it. And I'm going to expend one of my military stratagems because I'm going to march cross country, try not to lose anybody, and try not to be prevented from moving. So, we get a 4. And moving cross country on a 4 is an MA. MA says you can move, but you have an attrition. And that means after completing movement, you lose 1 unit, except the leader. So, this whole force can move, and I'm going to start moving them out. Remember, you can only move as fast or as far as your slowest unit, which is going to be the supply and engineer. So he goes 1 to there. Now I'm stopping real quick just to show you that Jugurutha could, remember, he has 1 military stratagem still. He could play it and intercept this force. Now in the old game, you know, what I did 5 years ago, I was using this wrong. I was expending that military stratagem and then just kicking 1, weak unit out into this hex, and it would stop the entire force from moving. That's not allowed because you have to move a leader. So if you expend the military strategy, you have to take a leader and a unit. Now, you're not going to waste your good leader. He does have another leader with him he could waste, but why do that? It's like, so the term interception, I think, is actually what it's for. I was using it more as a screening force, but it's really to intercept. So armies can't just move by you, walk right by you. You can actually go intercept them. So Jugurutha is allowed to do that. He's not going to do that. So Marius continues moving, and he moves on to the hex. Now, he says his movement's done. Immediately upon completion of his movement, he can choose to play a military stratagem and force march. He has to choose now. Well, I'm not gonna. I went where I wanted to go. He's staying. His movement's done. Now we come to the combat phase. Now, you can stay in the same hex and not conduct combat, but Mario says, nope, I want to conduct combat. Let's get it done right now. Jugurutha has a choice. He can expend a military stratagem and withdraw from that combat. He doesn't have to commit his army to combat. They did that all the time in ancient wars. You either committed to battle or you didn't. And you want to commit to battle when you have something to gain. Does he have anything to gain here? Sure. If he wins, he's going to force Marius to lose 3 stratagem, and Jugurutha can pick up 3 because he has them available now. So he has a lot to gain, and that's what stratagems are. They represent you getting prestige because your army wins a battle. So he's like, should I withdraw? No. He says he's going to fight. So they're going to go for the battle. So now we're going for the battle. Now we're going for tactical superiority. Now, the Romans have Sulla, whose rating is a 3. He can add 3 to his dice. Plus, he's going to go ahead and play a military stratagem. So he expends another military stratagem. That's 2 military stratagems he's expended in his turn. You can only expend as many stratagems as you have leader ratings. Well, we have 5. So far we expended 2. So now, Marius is going to add 4 to his dice for tactical superiority. Now Jugurutha's thinking, I have 1 military stratagem. Should I use it? Of course. Why? Because I put that rule in that you get to add 1 to your discipline check if you do. So he decides to use it. So he expended now his first military stratagem. So we're going to roll for tactical superiority. Marius is going to add 4 to the dice. Jugurutha can add, his leader rating's a 2 plus his military share. He can add 3. So the modifier is a +2 to Marius. Let's roll. Marius is going to be the little black die. Oh, and it's a 6 and a 5. Marius does get tactical superiority. So the Romans will attack first. They have, in their missile fire, they have 4, 8, 12, and 5. They have a strength of 17. Let's go ahead and roll. And he gets a 4 on 17. And a 4 is an absolute 0. So I've done everything I can do. I played everything I had to play right. And I still came out with nothing. Okay. Jugurutha gets the fire. He has 10, 20, 30. He has 40 strength points. And he rolls a 5 at 40. It's 5 strength point loss. And that's it. There's no discipline check. So we have to take off 5. Now, I don't want to lose the cavalry just because I want it for the pursuit round. So I'm going to go ahead and take an engineer. Now remember, the engineer and the supply, they can't shoot, but they can be taken for losses. So if I take 1 point there and 1 missile, that's a total of 5. So the Romans have lost 5 strength points in this battle. Now we go to the second round. Second round, the whole army can shoot, and you double the heavy infantry. Anything heavy. So it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, and 8. We have 53 shooting for the Romans. And we get a 3 at 53. And it's 5 strength points and a discipline check. So we got to take 5 off here. Now, unfortunately, his barbarians are all large formations of 10, so he's going to lose 1. We're going to go ahead and take a missile off to satisfy our loss. And now he has to make a discipline check. But Jugurutha can decide, does he want to add 1 to this discipline roll? Remember, we're in the second assault round. He still has a third assault round. Does he want to save his units right now or try to help them so they can attack right now? Or does he want to wait till the pursuit round? And that's a tough one. Because if we fail our check with barbarians, no one's shooting. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to my discipline roll. So let's roll it. He rolled a 5, becomes a 6. On the discipline check, everybody is saved. Everybody passes with that. See, if it would have stayed a 5, barbarians would have went berserk. And they would all be disrupted. So, what a good play. What a good play that this commander enabled his army, picked the right choice. Good job. So, they will shoot back. And now they can double their elephants because they're heavy. So it's 20, 40, 50, 60, 70 firing on the Romans. Oh, and he gets a 6. Man, what a roll. That's 10, no discipline check, but 10 strength point loss. And since we're in the assault round and heavy infantry are doubled, we'll have to take that 5 off to be a 10 loss. Now, to me, this is a battle. I never had this in those 4 battles I just fought that I didn't show you. But it was just, one side can't shoot. This is a battle going back and forth. Awesome. Anyways, we go to the third round. Third round, everybody shoots, and you can double the cavalry. And that's why I wanted to save my cavalry. So he's doubled to 10. So it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 29. It's going to be 33 for the Romans. And the Romans roll a 2. They're just not rolling as good as the opponents. So, it's a 0 loss, but guess what? It's a discipline check. Now, he can't add 1 to his discipline roll because he already chose to do it. Let's roll it. Oh, and he gets a vaunted 1. A 1 for barbarians is a fail. And so the entire army's disrupted. They cannot return fire. Guess what? That's the third round. The battle has ended. The battle has ended in a draw, right? The barbarians lost 10. The Romans lost 5, 6, 7, or sorry, 9. Oh, the Romans lost 10-2. So, it's a total draw. So far, I'll tell you what, I really like this. I like the way that battle turned out. Totally ended in a draw. Wasn't some crazy die roll thing. But also, I'll see as time goes on if, because one of the things the designer said in his notes was he didn't want battles to like carry on. It was something like that or prolong. He just wanted to have one force annihilated and move on with the game. Being that this game's 100, 200 years long, I don't need to do that. So, but we'll see if not enough forces are getting eliminated, then we may change some things. But right now, I really like it. And right now, because there's 2 Roman players, there's only so many legions you can have on the board. Remember, it's 15 for both sides, plus all the extras that you can come up with, by controlling certain areas. But so it ain't like you got an unlimited of forces sitting there that you can annihilate and, oh, you know what, let's just go back and rebuild. So I like the way this turned out right now. So that's it for this video.